The VAR Dominion had conquered 1,000 universes. They had shattered warships, burned civilizations, and brought entire species to their knees. When their Great War Council met to discuss the looming destruction of humanity, they expected a swift and overwhelming victory. 6 hours, the warlords declared, watching holographic simulations of human navies being turned to cosmic dust. They were confident, because in 7 minutes, their empire would cease to exist. The VAR High Council chamber surged with an eerie, blue glow, thousands of holographic projections floating in the air, each depicting a different scenario of Earth's impending catastrophe. The chamber was silent, save for the deep, guttural voice of High Exar Thoris. 6 hours. The room stayed, still absorbing the words as if they were prophecy. 6 hours, and their defenses will crumble. 6 hours, and their fleets will burn. 6 hours, and the last human will kneel before the Dominion. A ripple of satisfaction passed through the council. The VAR had conquered 1,000 realms. They had degraded entire species to nothing more than historical footnotes. The humans would be no different. General Zavon, his metallic carapace shining under the council's luminous glow, gave a dismissive wave of his claws. We waste time even debating this. The humans are a defiant species, but defiance means nothing when confronted with absolute supremacy. Karras nodded, his reptilian eyes narrowing as he gestured toward the war map before them. The 10,000-strong fleet of the Dominion was already en route, reaching across the vastness of space like a pandemic. Launch the invasion. The command sent a low tremor through the chamber. The Dominion's best armada pushed ahead, vanishing into hyperspace. The war was inevitable. The outcome was decided. They were wrong. The vacuum beyond Jupiter swirled as the Dominion fleet emerged, their ships blotting out the distant stars. They were war machines, planetary eradicators, each one built to blast through lesser civilizations like a razor through flesh. The humans had no such weapons, no such strength. At least, that was what the Dominion believed. Aboard the command ship, Karras leaned forward, his mandibles jerking as his crimson eyes locked onto the small, insignificant fleet before them. Pitiful. Humanity had sent only a tenth of what any rational species would call an armada. Karras had expected desperation. He had expected last-minute pandemonium. Instead, the humans had positioned their forces with almost deliberate indifference, a challenge without the force to back it. He turned to his weapons. Master, fire upon their lead ships. Let them realize their mistake before we erase them from history. Across the Dominion fleet, planet-killer guns buzzed with energy, each one locking onto its doomed target. A moment of stillness, then nothing, a flicker in the void, a fault in reality. The displays before Karras sparkled with energy readings that made no sense. Voice crackled through the intercom, uncertainty growing in its tone. Targets have vanished. Karras's head snapped toward the viewport. The human fleet was still there, and yet it wasn't. The targeting systems now revealed millions of human warships, ships that should not exist, ships that should have been spotted well before the battle had begun. This is impossible. And then, the first 2,000 Dominion ships detonated. Karras barely had time to respond before a strange voice crackled. Through the intercom, cold, composed, carrying the weight of inevitability. You thought this was war? A pause. No. This is extermination. The voice belonged to the human commander, Ares Reaper Draven. Panic rippled through the Dominion ranks. This was not how wars were waged. The VAR had never faced phantom fleets, had never been outmaneuvered before their weapons could even fire. They were the predators. They were the inevitable. And yet, their ships were dying in silence. From the vacuum, humanity struck. Not with brute force, but with surgical precision. Railgun rounds flying at relativistic speeds bypassed energy shields, ripping through command centers before the crews even knew they had been fired upon. Dominion cruisers folded in on themselves as tachyon artillery warped time, attacking ships before they had even moved into position. Karus roared as another cluster of warships flared out of existence, eliminated from the battle before they could even respond. "We are being hunted!" one of the tactical officers screamed, the realization cutting through ages of arrogance like a blade. Another explosion rocked the command ship. Karus staggered, claws digging into the metal railing. How are they doing this? No answer. Only another voice, this time from one of the warlords stationed on the outer perimeter of the battle. We need to flee." Cowards! Karus had never known terror, had never known loss. And yet, here he stood, watching his armada fall in minutes. He felt something strange slither into his stomach. Terror. "Keep your ground!" he screamed. But his voice was buried beneath the cacophony of warnings. And then, the ultimate horror. One of the Heaven's Wrath cannons triggered. A weapon that should not exist. A weapon that did not exist in any known military. Doctrine, a tier in reality itself. A singularity emerged amidst the Dominion's ranks. And with it, the very idea of space itself began to scream. Thousands of warships simply ceased. Their matter spread and consumed, their commanders erased before. Their final words could even be spoken. Karus slumped into his seat. The once mighty Dominion was being systematically erased. Humanity had not come to fight. They had come to finish them. The intercom crackled again, and the human commander's voice returned. "High Exar Karus." Silence. Karus understood. He had no power left. No voice remaining. Draven's voice stayed steady, unwavering. "Your empire thought itself eternal. Thought it could vanquish reality itself. Thought it might confront us." A pause. "Now, your people will whisper one name across the stars." Karus forced himself to speak, his voice barely above a whisper. "What?" "Name?" A chuckle. Not of entertainment, but of assurance. Humanity. The transmission terminated. Karus sensed his body go weightless as the command ship's alarms flashed a final warning. Event horizon identified. The last thing he saw was the collapse of space itself. Take. "If you destroy us, the other empires shall rise against you." Draven's lips coiled into something almost like a smile. "They already fear us." A beat. A pause. A wait. Then, "Do you know why?" Karus didn't answer. Draven continued. Voice. Low. Steady. "Because when we wage war, we don't conquer." His eyes sparkled in the faint light. "We eliminate." A single command flashed across the Dominion's remaining fleet systems. Priority command. AI override. Commence final protocol. Catharus's throat tightened. What have you done?" The tactical officer's face fell limp with terror. They've activated the self-destruct sequences." Karus stumbled back. "No, that's impossible." Draven's voice was soft. "Final. We don't need your empire." Clarus's mouth opened, a frantic plea forming, for survival, for mercy, for everything. "Wait." The first explosion detonated within the Dominion core. Then another, and another. Across the battle's remains, every single Dominion ship, every dreadnought, every war cruiser exploded simultaneously. The bridge ruptured. Karus's. Vision clouded as the atmosphere wrenched itself away. His body went weightless, spiraling toward the emptiness. His arms flailed, his claws seeking for anything. The last thing he saw was Earth, remote, untouched. The ultimate thing he heard was Draven's voice. "You should have killed us when you had the chance." Then, nothing. In the aftermath, the galaxy was silent. The Dominion was gone. 1,000 species turned their eyes toward Earth, and in their hearts, a solitary truth took root. Humanity did not wage war. It waged extinction. The silence of space was broken by the fading echoes of an empire. Carus had been mistaken. The war had not lasted 6 hours. It had barely lasted 6 minutes. The Dominion fleet was shattered. Its fragments smoldered against the vast emptiness of the void. The once invincible war machine of the VAR Dominion had been reduced to wreckage. Hollow husks of dreadnoughts drifted without purpose, the splintered bones of an empire that had once believed itself eternal. The few surviving warlords yelled into their failing comms, anxious for orders that would never come. No reinforcements, no counterattack, no escape. One by one, their voices faded. Humanity had made sure of that. Ares Draven stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, eyes locked onto the battlefield. The enemy was shattered. The Dominion's vessels, once towering monuments of terror, were nothing but wreckage. Their systems either hijacked or turned against them. His second-in-command, Admar Roar, stepped forward. His voice was low. "What are your orders?" Draven didn't blink. No survivors. Roar hesitated. "Their surviving ships are unprotected. Some are trying to retreat." Draven's gaze flicked toward him, a warning. Roar gulped. "Understood." The final stage of the operation commenced. No mercy. No negotiations. The humans had given the Dominion a chance, an unstated offer, to leave them in peace, to let the Sol system stay untouched. That offer had been disregarded. Now, there would be no second chances. "Charge the Omega Array!" Draven ordered. The Nemesis vibrated. The might of a planet killer hummed through its systems, a weapon created not to conquer, not to intimidate, but to erase.